Greetings! We are happy to welcome you on the live broadcast of the Breaking News on Creative Society channel.
Watch in this episode.
The participants of the Creative Society project monitor the climatic situation on the planet on a daily basis. On December 4th, 2021, at the conference Global Crisis, Time for the Truth, were presented interim results that for the period from July 24th to November 24th, there was not a single day in the world without a large-scale flood.
These are some of the most widespread and devastating natural disasters. Floods cover huge areas, instantly destroy roads, transport and houses, and what is most terrible, take people's lives.
A breaking news reporter will tell us about the consequence of flooding in Ireland.
Hello, this is a breaking news reporter from Tenerife. On December 25, 2021, heavy rains caused flooding in the county Wexford in southeastern Ireland. Some people were injured. Roads, tracks, and farms were flooded and destroyed. One of the farms received almost a monthly precipitation in a short period of time. The river Slaney has overflown its banks in the town of Enniscorthy. In Bridgetown, a helicopter was used to evacuate the population from the water trap. This flooding has become the most powerful in 60 years.
A prolonged flooding in the state of Bahia, Brazil, was called a terrible disaster. State Governor Rui Costa said, "This is a huge tragedy. I cannot recall anything like this in the recent history of Bahia. The number of houses, streets and cities completely underwater is truly horrifying." It should be noted that the floods have replaced the prolonged drought in Brazil. The abnormal lingering rains began back in November. In some parts of the state, including the capital, El Salvador, the amount of rainfall was 6 times higher than normal. More details later in the report.
At the end of December, powerful floods continue in the east of Brazil. Heavy rains led to flooding of most of the territory of the state of Bahia. A state of emergency was declared in 132 municipalities. Dozens of people were killed and hundreds were injured. About 54,000 people have become internally displaced. In all, over 600,000 residents of the state were affected. Floods, landslides and mudslides caused significant damage to the infrastructure of the region. On December 25th and 26th, residents of the cities of Vitória da Conquista and Itambe had to be evacuated due to the destruction of 2 dams. In a number of flooded areas, roofs remained the only signs of once densely populated communities.
At the end of December, record-breaking frosts and heavy snowfalls hit states of the western United States. Severe weather conditions covered the territory from Washington state to California. A state of emergency has been declared in Oregon. On December 24th, a landslide descended in Santa Cruz County, California. Our special reporter from the scene reports about this, as well as about how the consequences of climate change affect people's lives.
Hello, my name is Alex Londos, and this is Climate Breaking News. As you can see, there's a small landslide behind me. This is along East Zayani Road in Santa Cruz County. Now, this landslide is not affecting thousands of people throughout Santa Cruz County, but it is affecting several neighborhood streets and maybe 50 to 200 people that live east of this specific location. Now they can't get to the main hub of the community where they might need to go to the store, the bank, the post office, where they may work or take their children to school. So to get to where they live, to where they likely need to go, they're going to have to take a lot of side streets and alternative routes through some of this mountainous region, which is going to take longer and of course waste more fossil fuels. So this disaster right here is not a major disaster, but it is definitely impacting those living in this immediate area, in this community. Disasters like this, landslides, will become more frequent in the following years and the following decades for several reasons. One reason, we're going to continue to see more severe and more extreme weather around the world. It's not just going to be as consistent, consistent weather patterns that we're used to. We're going to see more extreme flooding events, more extreme blizzards, and they create landslides such as this. Also, our society is just not prepared. I mean, our civilization, our structure, our infrastructure, our roads, our buildings, bridges, dams, dikes, none of that is ready for the climate-related disasters and superstorms of the future. And that's why we do videos like this. That's why we try to get this information out to more people. So we have to do everything that we can to be prepared.
In the next report, eyewitnesses of historical natural disasters in the USA and Canada will tell about how they help people who suffered during the cataclysms.
My name is Jordan Hall. I'm a storm chaser out of Norman, Oklahoma. I was down in Arkansas, south of Jonesboro, when that destructive tornado hit the ground on the night of December 10th. We intercepted it. We were about 50 yards from it when it crossed the road in front of us. And we actually followed it all the way up into Monette, Arkansas, where it had impacted that nursing home. And at that point, we were first on scene. And that's when we went in and changed from storm chasers to first responders and started helping people out of that nursing home. So the residents there were notified of the tornado warning probably about 5 to 10 minutes prior. So when we pulled up, it was probably about a quarter mile to a half mile wide of just down power lines, houses ripped apart, and this nursing home. At first, when I showed up, I thought the nursing home was actually an old school. It looked like an old school building. But as I approached closer and got close to that building and was searching through cars, you could hear screaming coming out of that nursing home. So me and my chase partner, Scott Peak, went into that nursing home and found that there was over 60 residents that were in there just needing help. Some were completely buried by rubble and couldn't move. I remember seeing there was like 3 wheelchairs stacked on top of each other with residents in those wheelchairs that could not move. And there were still a couple residents that were laying in their beds like they were sleeping when it hit. So that's pretty much when we broke into first and rescue mode and started trying to just save everybody that we could and get them unburied, and because it was pretty urgent with some of those people. At that moment, you're just more focused on what can I do to help? What can I do to save the people I'm trying to save? I'm a former firefighter, so I've been trained with like being able to handle like stress management and be able to focus on certain things. So I feel like that came into play a lot and helped me a lot in that situation. But I do remember when things started slowing down a little bit and I was starting to really be able to open my eyes and really understand what happened. It's sad because you look at it and you're like, that's somebody's mom and dad, or that's somebody's grandparents. And it's heartbreaking. So when we were there, it took about 5 minutes before all the first responders from Monette showed up. There was over 50 to 60 like ambulances, fire trucks, residents just pouring in from the town, just coming in to help where they could, whether it was start counting heads or helping just form like a chain of just pulling things out of that nursing home. Some of the residents were talking about how the nurses in there, when that tornado hit, threw their own bodies on top of them to protect them from debris. So they're like, yeah, shielding them with their own bodies, which was this is a crazy story to think about, just crazy to think about. And I just know everybody who showed up there was just trying to help in every way they could. I wouldn't be surprised if there was over 100, 150 people that were just there to help. Really, it was instantly. It was no matter what was going on in anybody's lives at that moment, it was like humanity just came together to make sure everybody was okay. I think it's extremely important that people unite and come together, especially in today's day, because I think a lot of people are forgetting like how important it is to just like look at each other and respect each other and, you know, help each other out, because it's always funny, especially when things are slow and things aren't happening. People will fight and people will disagree with each other, and then they'll say they don't like each other, but it always ends up taking something like this to happen for all of that to just go out the window and the true humanity comes out, and people just, it is kind of odd to see something so violent and strong around this time of the year, and long tracked. There's a potential for that to be on the ground for over 240 miles. Normally you start seeing stuff like that around February and March down south, but December it was kind of surprising. Some other climatic anomalies I've been seeing is like, especially during hurricane season, it seems like the last few years, especially in 2020, we had probably the most historic hurricane season to date. I mean, we were just getting hurricane after hurricane after hurricane, and they were very strong hurricanes. We had an almost category 5. Actually, I believe they did rank it up to cat 5. And it wasn't even a week and a half later, there was a category 3 taking the exact same path that the cat 5 took a week and a half earlier. So it's almost like you're starting to see more of these severe weather events closer to each other, and they're becoming more and more.
If you have witnessed any climate anomalies, please send your video footage to climate@creativesociety.com.
My name is Dr. Narsimha Chari. I am a psychiatrist by profession. I am a member of Seva International. It is a well-known NGO, and Seva in Sanskrit means service. We're living in Vancouver. It's a city where it rains a lot, as you people know. And there's the adjoining that is the Okanagan Valley. In that valley, it is like, we call it a desert-like atmosphere, known for its heat and so on. Nothing we ever knew, nothing we ever had prepared us or the people of this valley, the interior part of British Columbia, for what was to come. There were warnings. There were consistent radar pictures. There were warnings that heavy rains are going to come and storm is coming. And also they did say that there was going to be an environmental river. Now, then I looked up and I found that what it meant for a layperson is that there's a lot of water in the clouds there, and then it's going to travel into wherever it travels, and then it's just all down. So there were warnings, but nothing we in our life prepared us to expect what happened. And then it started raining in Vancouver. So what happened here was the environmental rivers which traveled up, and then they rained there and they rained there. And the big mountains started melting. I mean, there was a landslide. And then first was severe. The roads were all cut off. From Vancouver, the rest of Canada, we were cut off by road because they all had to go through one of those 3 roads, and we were cut off from the interior. And so all these cities, Merritt, Princeton, there were floods. Merritt was completely drowned, and Princeton was significantly affected. But then in America, there is a big lake, and then there is a levee, and then that levee, for various reasons, wasn't upgraded. That flooded. That caused couple of billion dollars worth of damage in Abbotsford and all that Fraser Valley area. Some of us, we formed a small group of people. We started preparing all the stuff. We collected donations of tinned food and other things. We collected all those things and went to the Langley airport. There were helicopters. There were small planes with volunteer pilots flying. We sent all this food to different sections of the road which was cut off because there were landslides. Now, what happened was all the people in Merritt, they were asked to evacuate. Some remained, but second storm, third storm, everybody, even the first responders were told to go away from there. So that Merritt remained closed for a significant period of time. It just didn't open because the water was still there. People lost their houses and so on. I went to a Punjab retail store in Surrey, British Columbia, and that gentleman graciously just told us to take what we wanted: 50 blankets, 50 sweaters, and hundreds of socks and so on. I mean, the people were very kind. In 1 week, we created contact points and we were able to start getting supplies from Alberta to Kelowna where the need was there. And the other area was that we visited the hotels where the flood victims were lodged. And basically, it was very sad to see their situation. They had lost everything they had. Their certificates, their belongings, and they were speechless. You know, you will never understand the feelings of those people who have lost everything. I think first thing we have to become aware is not the same world that it used to be a few decades ago. And some people, they say, oh, well, I'm all right, you know, and I can, my family is okay, I'm okay, and who cares what happens after 1,000 years or 100 years. But it's happening in our own lifetime. I don't wish people should have any experience like that, but people need to have empathy. Empathy is ability to see the world through that person's eyes, not your eyes, but the people who are flood affected, are affected by fire, are affected by earthquakes. We live in a community, in a society. It's like a big family.
Such examples actually show us how unification will help all of us, people, to live through the period of global climate change on the planet.
Only mutual assistance gives us a chance to survive in times of catastrophes.
But this requires the entire world community to unite on the basis of the best human universal values.
On December 22nd, a record amount of snow fell within just 24 hours in Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. In addition, abnormal frosts have set in over the territory of this country. For example, in the Grand Prairie, Alberta, the temperature dropped to minus 44.4 degrees Celsius. It was colder than in some parts of the Arctic.
Meanwhile, in Kodiak, Alaska State, in the middle of winter, temperatures rose to almost plus 20 degrees Celsius. A new state record was set for December. Usually, the average temperature at this time of the year is minus 1 degree Celsius for the region.
For other climatic anomalies and records around the world, watch the following report.
On December 25, 2021, heavy rains hit the southern part of Krasnodar Krai, Russian Federation. This resulted in rising river levels and flooding. Many streets in Novorossiysk and Anapa went underwater. Traffic jams were observed in both cities due to the downpour. Also, a high danger level was declared in some areas of Krasnodar region. On the night of December 23rd, the first snowfall of the season fell on the Black Sea coast of Sochi. The temperature in the city dropped to minus 10 degrees. The resort was hit by icy air from the Arctic. The heaviest snowfall was observed in Lazarevsky and Tuapse districts. Local power, internet, and communication lines were disrupted due to the snow adhesion on the wires. On the 23rd of December, a record-breaking cold snap hit northern China. In the city district of Hulunbuir, the temperature dropped to minus 46.9 degrees Celsius. This was a record low since the beginning of winter. Severe frosts were also observed in the Heilongjiang province in the northeast of the country. In the Mohe city, the temperature dropped below -40 degrees Celsius. On December 27th, a record amount of snow fell within a day in the northern and western regions of Japan. Unfortunately, there were casualties. About 70 centimeters of snow fell within 24 hours in Shiga and Hyogo prefectures. Niigata Prefecture had the highest snow cover, 82 centimeters. Heavy snowfall caused traffic jams. Air and ground transportation was disrupted.
Between December 24th to 30th, the planet experienced widespread flooding and landslides, earthquakes, tornadoes, as well as abnormal temperatures and record rainfalls.
We are not prepared for such rapid climate change because the true cause of these processes is astronomical cyclicity and still remains almost completely unstudied by humankind.
The cycle is about influence coming from outer space. It doesn't depend on a human being. No matter how much a human wants or tries, he won't be able to harm the planet that much. But our notorious anthropogenic factor affects the health of our planet, our environment, and here our survival depends on these factors. Why? Well, let me explain. Let's imagine it simply. Let's imagine that what is happening to our planet right now, we don't take climate, we take the environment. It's like an oncogenic process in its last stage, with many metastases. And unfortunately, we humans are the cause of this disease. We are like parasites in the human organism. We contribute to, not only do we constantly intoxicate this organism, but we also contribute to the development of various quite serious diseases. And these various quite serious diseases combined are simply killing the organism of our planet. Now, what is cyclicity? It's an external impact that creates the changes, leading, again, to this very seismic activity. It will be enormously active. We will encounter the power of earthquakes that we haven't seen yet. We as humankind have not seen them. Well, I mean the last, our so-called civilization. What's next? Next, more will follow. This means, volcanic eruptions. We won't escape from them anywhere. There will be severe eruptions, including those of stratovolcanoes. And everyone knows it already. There is the rise of magma. We'll get to that a little later. Next, there will be precipitation, floods, subsequent icing and terrible cold. After all, what is happening now? And all this is taking place precisely because of the external factors, because of the influence of the universe, of other galaxies on our planet. If we look, the lower layers of the atmosphere are warming up very quickly, while the upper layers are cooling down very intensively. The most terrible thing is that the chemical composition of the upper layers of our atmosphere is changing very rapidly and significantly. And what are the upper layers of our atmosphere? Is that very blood. It's a defense mechanism. The main immunity should be there. But this immunity suffers as a result of the anthropogenic factor. So it turns out that we will not be able to withstand external impacts because of internal diseases. That's what the entire problem is.
What can we change? This is the question that prompted each of us to take action. International online conference Global Crisis Time for the Truth is a historical event organized by people from 180 countries with simultaneous interpreting into 100 languages of the world.
This is another step towards building the creative society, which is the only chance for the survival of all humankind. Right now, the matter of how quickly we will build a society where human life is the main value is up to everyone's involvement. Learn more about the Creative Society at the website creativesociety.com.
Thank you for being with us today, and see you soon on the Creative Society channel.